How goes it? Zippidy Grizz here. Today I want to talk about one of the most popular Victorinox models, the humble Huntsman. The Huntsman is probably one of their best sellers. It's a very popular 4-layer knife. They've had this pattern since 1902 when they added the saw and the scissors to the officer's knife. So it's one of the oldest running forms of a Swiss Army knife as we know it today. But this one here isn't your average Huntsman, obviously. I put some Micarta scales on it that I got from DLT Trading. I think they were like 40 bucks or something. It's a little pricey, but well worth it. The fit's perfect. Didn't require any epoxy or glue or anything like that. They snapped on right like factory. The toothpick and tweezers fit in there nice and snug, but, you know, are still easy to get out, but don't feel like they'll just fall out. So, you know, your Huntsman has your basic opening layer with the bottle cap opener, bottle cap lifter, a screwdriver, can opener with the small flathead or two-dimensional Phillips screwdriver. The next layer is the scissors, which scissors, you know them, you love them. And then the saw. And of course, the saw has the brushed or machined surface to it, as all the saws will, and the teeth are also straight up. The saws before 1967-ish, thereabout, will have angled teeth and will have a polished surface. Then the main blade, and this is one of my favorites. This was one of the first that I carried regularly. I still carry this quite often. It's got the 4-line tang stamp with the uppercase V, the crossbow and officer Swiss on the back, and the standard pen blade. And on the back, it has a 4-turn corkscrew without fluting. This one is from after 1991. So it does have the highly praised hook, and it can do that and catch your key ring. And it has a reamer, this time with the hole in it, as the hole was added around 1985. Anyway, some of its closest related model was a discontinued one, is actually called the Woodsman. This one's in rough shape. I already did a video on it. This one was somebody's lifelong breeder. Somebody loved the hell out of this knife, and likewise, I just love it. I think it's awesome that it still exists, because this thing obviously worked hard and earned its keep. But the Woodsman was just a version of the Huntsman without a toothpick and tweezers. So it's kind of like the standard is to the Spartan as the Woodsman is to the Huntsman. Before the 70s, they were just known as the models 236. The 236 number goes all the way back to the 1903 catalog. And, you know, you would have had the option to have, you know, toothpick and tweezers or a bail. And the toothpick and tweezers will add a letter A suffix, and the key ring or bail adds a U suffix. They don't use that number system anymore, but you'll come across it dealing with the old vintage knives. And the 236, they had a 3-number system. 36 is basically the 4-layer format of the Huntsman or the Fieldmaster. The difference between the Huntsman and a Fieldmaster is the first number. If you see a number 1, then it's going to have a Phillips driver. If you see a number 2, it'll have a corkscrew. So anytime you see like a number like the 234U or something, that would be a Spartan with a bail. If you saw a 134U, that would be a tinker with a bail, you know. So just a little information on their numbering system from back in the day, even though they don't use it anymore. Kind of wish they did. The other related model to that is the Fieldmaster. Obviously, they're still available today. This is a Fieldmaster from the later 70s. It has the screwdriver with the can opener and no file surface on it. And then another one that is a discontinued model is the Huntsman Small, which is one of my favorite knives. They're hard to come across. I've already done a video on this knife. I talk about this knife all the time. I'm sure everybody gets sick of hearing about it. But it's a cool knife, and it's one of my favorite pieces. But that's why I carry this one, because I can't afford to lose that one. But these Micarta scales, they really fit nicely. They're really high quality. They're just tough. They got a great texture to them. You know, if you've ever had Micarta on a knife, you know it's just a great handle material. So an easy upgrade to any Swiss Army knife is to put a set of Micarta scales on it. And if you're afraid to change your scales, it's not hard to do at all. You know, especially if you're not worried about, if you're going to take the scales off anyway, it shouldn't matter if you break them a little bit. But if you heat them up first with hot water or with a heating pad or something, or a heat gun or something like that, not to where they're like melting hot or anything, but if you warm them up, they get a little softer, and then you can pop them off without them tending to break. And then they should just snap on. The way I snap the scales on, I mean, the way they do it in the factory was with a press, but you can do it with a vise. Or if you don't have a vise, you can use like a pair of channel locks and like a leather belt. And I wrap the leather belt over it and then squeeze it down with the channel locks, and it makes the scale fit perfectly. If you change scales and there's any gap, there should be no gap. If you've got an air gap in there, then they're not seated right or they don't fit right. You got to beware with some of the scales, especially on Etsy, like the 3D printed scales. I've bought some of them scales and they were just atrocious. You know, they even... If the scale comes with glue, that's a bad sign. But, I mean, these scales, glue wasn't saving them. They weren't even close to fitting. They were ridiculously thick. The grooves for the toothpick and tweezers were so big that the toothpick and tweezers would just fall out. So, you just got to beware what you're buying, especially handmade stuff on Etsy, because you don't know if they're really paying that close attention to the quality, especially if they're not sack enthusiasts themselves. You know, not everybody loves the sack the way we love the sack, you know. Anyway, that's the Huntsman for today. Wanted to thank everybody for all the subscribers and sharing my videos and stuff, especially Knife Chats with Tobias, Patty's Potato Peelers, Mark Kaufman. You guys, I really appreciate you guys sending subscribers my way. I just recently hit 200 subscribers, which is about twice as many as I ever hoped to have. So thank you very much to everybody that's watching, and I look forward to making more videos for y'all to enjoy. Thank you very much. Take care. Petey Grizz out.